On this episode, we hit social media, the chaos that it is, different side effects it might have on our mental health, and how we deal with it personally, and how hopefully that'll help you guys. So stay tuned. You're listening to the Iron and Grace podcast, so pick up your sword and join the good fight.
Today's verses from Luke 8:22 through 25. One day, he got into a boat with his disciples, and he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side of the lake." So they set out, and as they sailed, he fell asleep. And a windstorm came down on the lake, and they were filling with water and were in danger. And they went and woke him, saying, "Master, Master, we are perishing." And he awoke and rebuked the wind and the raging waves, and they ceased, and there was a calm. He said to them, "Where is your faith?" And they were afraid, and they marveled, saying to one another, "Who then is this, that he commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him?"
This is Drew.
This is Kyle. Welcome to Iron and Grace.
Fitting verse, I think. You've been studying through Luke.
I've been reading through Luke lately, and I read that yesterday morning, and it just hit me different. I mean, I've read it, 100 times, but it doesn't say he woke up and he asked the wind and the waves to calm down. He awoke and rebuked the wind and the raging waves.
Yeah.
A rebuke is like I rebuke my children when they're doing something they're not supposed to be doing. The power and what's the word there? It's been a long day.
Complete control.
I mean, just the commanding nature of that struck me.
Yeah, that's always amazed me, that section, because like his authority that he gives.
That was the word. Authority.
Authority that he gives over the earth, creation, weather, things that are so uncontrollable to us. Even in our modern time, I know they'd be trying to control the weather. It's like kind of a thing now, right? Like whether they can make rain and things like that.
Well, but Jesus didn't call up the planes to cloud seed somewhere else.
True. He just immediately
said, "Stop."
Yeah.
And the wind and the waves said, "Sorry, boss."
Yeah. And when you think about like that section, they're on a mission that they should have already been, okay, Christ has talked about we're going to do this, and now they're, in transit, and Christ has already told them that they're going to do this, so they should have that faith to know that no matter what storm comes, but they still worry, they still doubt in that moment. Like, I know he told us we're going to do this, but are we really going to make it?
Well, and I mean, they've seen him heal people. At this point, they've seen him bring people back from the dead. They've seen him, cleanse lepers and make the lame walk. But to speak to the elements, and them listen,
I feel like that would be a different level.
It is a different level. And I mean, and it says, and his disciples who had been with him through all of these things that he's done, his apostles that have been with him and seen all the things he's done, marveled. Who then is this that he commands even the winds and the water, and they obey him?
Yeah.
I think that's like, it's worth it to just take a moment every once in a while and think of the awe
of what that would be like.
Yeah.
I think I talked a little bit about glory in the Easter episode, and that is quite the example of power and authority and weight that he carried to be able to, if you think about like modern storms, think about like the mist of a thunderstorm. And I've been on the water in pretty heavy storms, and it's a pretty terrifying
I believe it. I have not.
So I can't imagine what it would be like, not only to calm the storm, but to be in fear in a boat like that, and then it to be calm.
Yeah, I've been, in a car or on a motorcycle in a heavy storm, and that's
scary enough.
But I can't imagine being out in the middle of the water.
Yeah,
the consequences there are exponentially higher.
Death, and the ocean doesn't just calm down when the storm's gone. So for him to calm everything, it's pretty intense. So, social media, the storm that is social media.
Yeah, or at least the storm that it causes or can cause in our minds. the anxiety and the disruption and the strange amount of stress that can be caused by, you know, these stupid little devices. You know, I think it's so common nowadays. I mean, it's kind of expected that everybody's got an Instagram account, everybody's got a Facebook account, everybody's got a TikTok. I don't have a TikTok account. But it's not uncommon at all to walk through a store
And
where we just be driving down the road and everybody who's not actively driving, and even some who are like this. They're their face on their phone all the time. And it's not productive. It's just doing this.
So 2 things I want to hit on that I seen. I just remembered. So I guess at the Masters, the Golf Masters, you're not allowed to have a cell phone.
Oh.
They don't let you in with a cell phone. So there's pictures. I'll have to try to show it to you.
I mean, isn't everybody at the Golf Masters like over the age of 82 anyway?
You'd be surprised though. No, I don't think so. I think golf has taken off for the younger crowd.
Okay. I can't make fun of golf. There are too many young guys that play golf now.
That's true.
I have this weird like thing against golf. My former stepdad was a big golfer and just we'll say he and I didn't have the greatest
get along.
I don't feel the most positive thoughts when I think of him.
Golf is tainted.
Yeah, like I think golf, and he's the one that I go to every time. So like I have this unreasonable hatred for golf.
You know, I golf with my dad some. He really enjoys golfing, and I have good memories golfing, but I just never really could get into it. Like it wasn't my thing.
I used to so he would leave like buckets and boxes of golf balls in the garage. And back when I was a kid, when he was married to my mom, I was still playing baseball. So I would take his golf, and he worked at the mill, so he worked nights a lot. So when he was asleep or gone, I would take his golf balls out into the yard, and we had like a big, huge field behind us, and I would throw the golf balls in the air and just pink them off into the field with my aluminum baseball bat.
I'm sure you love that.
I don't know how much. He never said anything about that one. I mean, there were plenty of things that we didn't get along about, but I don't know if he never figured it out or what. But yeah, I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of dollars worth of golf balls I've just launched off into nowhere. Out of pure spite.
So this is a picture of the Masters, the crowd, right? And it's kind of older people, but not a single phone. Not a single fold.
A lot of wrinkles there.
But no phone, right? But so the meme I seen was, and then LeBron James shooting some all-time record scoring.
And everybody in there's on a phone.
I mean, look at the crowd.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, every single person in the crowd at the basketball game has their phone up. Every single one of them.
Yeah. Which
is kind of crazy when you think about like us experiencing life. What is the draw that makes us want to film it? Because that's one thing that I kind of filming different stuff in like life and taking pictures. Like I was thinking like, I'm never going to look at this again. Like I'm probably never, I mean, I get family photos and stuff is one thing, but filming LeBron James shooting it, are you ever going to look at that again?
And something that I've kind of realized is if you film something, when you're looking at it through your camera lens.
Yeah, you are.
It doesn't stick in memory.
Yeah.
You don't remember the thing.
Yeah.
Like you do when you're just paying attention to the thing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you have it recorded for you to, like you said, probably for you to post on social media and then never look
look at it again.
But the memory itself just doesn't seem to be there, which is more important.
Yeah.
Really, I think.
And you're not really, I have a saying that I like to say, and it's like, you got to go through life with your eyes open, because a lot of people go through life with their eyes closed. You know,
it's no fun. You run into everything.
Yeah. You don't look around. You don't experience life. You don't experiencing the things that you should be experiencing, the, you know, gloriful things that are all around us, the little things, the big things. And the phone's the perfect example of that, because we don't experience life through our eyes. We experience life through this screen.
Yeah.
Right. And it is true. Like when you're at an event and you're filming something, you're like actually watching the event through the phone.
Yeah, right.
That is then recording for what, clout, to put it on social media. To say that I was there when LeBron James shot you know.
Yeah. And I mean, my brain is a ping pong I can't talk at all today. Sorry guys. A ping pong ball when it comes to this kind of topic. Cause you know, I've got an Instagram for the shop, and I've gone through periods of time where I'll post pretty regularly. And I think there are positives to, or there can be positives to some of that. Like it's okay for my business. It gets people seeing what I'm
Mhm.
doing, and it helps the reputation of the shop because they see the work and all those things. But it's also at the same time, it like feeds my ego.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this picture got 2,500 likes,
Yeah.
or there are 80 comments on this, and everybody thinks it's awesome. Which, do they actually think it's awesome, or they're being nice?
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about that with these guys because they're never nice. But
it's true.
so it's like it's this weird double-edged sword. Like, it's good, you can show the world what I'm doing. It's bad because it just feeds my pride and
Mhm.
ego. And then on the flip side, once it's posted, then it's like every time your phone dings, like, oh, did somebody else comment? Oh, somebody else commented. What did they say? And then you're looking, and then that turns into scrolling. And then 20 minutes later, you're like,
Yeah.
what have I been doing for the last 20 minutes?
You don't even realize how much time it sucks.
Yeah.
And I think it was humbling for me when you start doing some research on social media and how designed the social media is to keep your attention, and they're keeping your attention to then market things to you, and you have no control over what they're marketing. They're obviously manipulating what they're marketing to fit you. Because if you were marketed, a pink tutu, you probably wouldn't be buying it. But
I
when
probably
they
would,
market
actually, because
you-
I have multiple kids in ballet.
That's true.
So
That
it's
is
possible.
true.
It's very
That was a
possible.
bad example. But
Probably not in my size. But
what was
what happens
humble-
behind closed doors?
Yeah, you wear leggings under it. It's all good. It's appropriate. But what's crazy to me is when I started to realize, and this is kind of off topic of just the actual like physical and mental health effects of the phone, but okay, they can market things to you, but what else are they pushing to you that might not be to sell things, but to manipulate a worldview, to manipulate some type of political motive, or just to change the perspective and to not to use a better word, but to brainwash. I mean, think about how those, and I think all of us are like, there's no way, but these are sophisticated people. There's other governments that are utilizing social media to manipulate our country's philosophies, our country's beliefs. They're not going to do it like all at once, right? It's going to be subtle. They have people that are well versed, and I guess the term would be psyops, right? How to change people's minds, how to manipulate people. And that's happening. Like, they know that that's happening.
And even, I mean, I don't disagree at all, but even to, not go that deep and dark with it. I mean, I don't think it's even necessarily tinfoil hacks. I think that's a lot of that's just kind of obvious, but, just from a personal time suck,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason we're talking about this is because I'd recently deleted Instagram off my phone. So I only have access to it through the computer here at the shop, and I only am in front of my computer for very, very short periods of time. And the last thing that I actually have time to do is
Social media.
dick around on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I went from, I will say I didn't waste a ton of time on social media, but I wasted enough time on social media to now I probably spend, I don't know, at tops 10 minutes every other day on Instagram. And the amount of time that I have found
back
to do other things is pretty nuts.
Yeah.
Like, and my life is not worse for getting rid of it. I dropped my knife in the garbage can, and apparently something got in the action.
Probably the coffee.
Probably coffee grounds. Sorry, guys. I am super ADD, so like I have to have things close by to fidget with so that I don't go nuts.
And his fidget of choice is usually weapons.
Well, yes, this is true. So I've got my knife, which just usually lives in my pocket, and my dope.
You got to talk about that thing.
Training. Yeah, not a real pistol, not real. It's just a trainer. I've been doing this DT training with a group, and this is required for the training. And man, it's sweet. It's a Glock 19.
Yeah, it's cool.
With the magazine's weighted, same weight as a magazine is. It's loaded, and it fires. It is same trigger pull as a Glock 19. It shoots a little laser, and you can track it on an app. But I don't really know how to use it all yet. But it's pretty sweet. I've been playing with it all day.
It is very cool.
So has nothing to do with what we're talking about at all in any way. It just helps my ADD.
Which does, I mean, it's some mental health aspects there, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Get a fidget spinner, and if it's, a training tool like that, then even the better.
Yeah, right. and I can pick my fingernails while we talk.
But yeah, I think I've struggled with anxiety, and we've talked about that before, but I almost use the phone as a distraction,
like
from
an escape.
almost like an escape from my anxiety. And what's interesting is while you're actively scrolling or using it, yeah, it is kind of an escape from whatever anxiety or things you're feeling. But in the long run, it almost heightens it and makes it worse, right?
Well, it is and it's not, because what are we doing when we're on? What are we doing with social media? We're not checking up on other people to see, oh man, their life's going really good. I'm happy for them. It's comparing. And that's what I do.
Yeah.
Not consciously, but that's what's happening. I follow some of these other metal shapers, and I mean, I'm good at bending metal. I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
There are guys out there that are better than me. And of course I follow every one of them on Instagram, and they'll post something. I'm like, that looks freaking perfect. I am a loser. I'm terrible. I should never bend another piece of metal ever again, which in reality
Isn't true.
I'm good at what I do.
They probably see yours and think the same thing.
I doubt it, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't, it's, there is, you know, it being competitive, there's a little bit of like, okay, well now I have to up my game.
Yeah.
So there's that, but usually it's not that. Usually it's just, oh, well now I kind of feel crappy about myself, you know, or the things that are popping up on there are things that you shouldn't be seeing.
Yeah.
You don't want to be seeing, or if you do want to be seeing, maybe that's a little bit of a problem too.
But,
you know, and your phone will feed you those things.
oh, absolutely. You know? I think the big one there is lust, right? For men.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, sexually motivated content, pornography, whatever scale of pornography, obviously those things have like nudity censors, but like even not just that, but when you think about, I can't remember who it was. I watched a video about them talking about it, but you know, 100 years ago, let's say the country was at war. I mean, where did you get updates on war or the just tragic things that are happening around the country, around the world? Maybe the newspaper, which you can only fit but so many stories in the newspaper. There's a headline, which obviously is going to be the most big triggering event, you know, you're going to see is going to be the headline. But the amount of drips of chaos that you see 100 years ago was maybe 1 a.m. if you read the newspaper. If not, maybe a couple a month you would be in a group and they'd say, look what this crazy thing that happened to town over. Think about how many drips of chaos a normal person's going to see on social media in a 5-minute period. I mean, people dying. I'm not saying like video, some people I want to hit that because there's an off topic thing, but like people dying, war happening, chaos around the world. You're getting maybe 10 or 15 world events that are like super traumatic, super terrible events just in maybe 15 minutes of scrolling.
Yeah.
Whereas most of the time, all about human history, like those were events that you might not even hear about like over a whole year.
Right. And you know, again, like I again, ping pong ball brain, but in a weird devil's advocate sort of way, like we do have immediate access to a lot of information that otherwise, I mean, I don't trust our national media at all. It doesn't matter who it is, Fox, MSNBC, NBC, whatever, you name it. I don't trust any of those guys. Now, I feel absolutely foolish to say that I trust the information that I see on Instagram, but there is a level of like people are posting this right now. Sometimes you even get, you know, first person, depending on who you follow. And is it more trustworthy? Geez, probably, maybe, I don't know, but it's an outside source where they're not necessarily profiting in the same way off of your awe and shock.
Yeah. Well, I think
the national media is.
So when I was doing all my cybersecurity stuff for a little bit, they have like what's called like open source technologies, which are basically, probably going to misquote this, maybe Mateo will correct me now, but like an open source software would be something that,
remember, we're dumb guys.
Yeah, that is open to change, right? That random people can update and change it, you know. And there's some guidelines, but closed source technology is one that like a software company builds, sells you, and if you need to fix it, you got to go back to the software company. And I think social media is kind of that same type of vibe, where Twitter and things like that, while it's somewhat controlled by the bigger social media platform, Facebook or Twitter, it is more open source. Anybody can put whatever they want on there. So there's an element of truth that I think comes through with that, because there's an honesty with that, you know, whereas the Fox News, they're only putting what they want to put up there. It's completely controlled, you know, no random Kyle or Drew can be like at a shooting and be like, well, I'm putting my video and this is what actually happened.
Right. And there's not an opportunity. You know, you go in the comments on an Instagram video and you could have 3,000 people go, that's BS. That's BS. Yeah. No, I was there or whatever. The kids texted me. Mavis and Alice are getting along now. They were fighting like cats and dogs earlier.
They've recovered.
Now they're best friends.
That's funny.
My kids texted me. They get pregnant.
Not only are they best friends, but they had to send an update.
Yes. Well, yeah.
To make sure that.
Well, Jerry Lynn was here earlier helping me do that. Try and get through our bookkeeping debacle. And she had to leave early because they were going at it. So they're friends again now. That happens when you're sisters.
Speaks to Jerry Lynn's problem solving, people skills.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, sisters, one's 6, one's 10. So
that's
they are either best friends or worst enemies at any given moment.
But when they are 20, they'll be thicker than.
I hope so.
I hate the term thicker than thieves, but that's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully much thicker because, you know, there's no honor among thieves.
No.
Anyways.
There's a lot of misplaced honor among thieves. I will say I've known a lot of thieves in my past career. There's a lot of weird honor. They all have honor tattooed on their arm. They won't steal from each other. Well, they would, but it's just, that's a whole other topic.
All right. Anyways. But, you know, get back to like anxiety and social media and what it does and causes in us. You know, we all watched Charlie Kirk get shot. And regardless of who he was, I mean, I've seen the woman on the subway or on the bus that got stabbed to death. I mean, I've seen more death.
Oh, yeah.
On Instagram than otherwise I probably would in my entire life.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, like I said on our last thing, like I live in the middle of nowhere. Death is a pretty rare thing for me to come across. But now we see it. And are you affected by it?
Yeah.
I bet you're not nearly as affected by it now as if you'd never seen that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I can scroll through Instagram and watch somebody die and it's like, man, that sucks.
We're so numb
and then
to it.
4 scrolls later, it's like it never happened.
Yeah. And we're so numb to it too. And when it's kind of crazy because you'll have that video and then the next video you'll have like, for you'll have like a metalworking video. So how does our brain really, it cannot be healthy for us to scroll through a shooting video and then, okay, that was kind of crazy. And then, that's that's some good metalwork that guy's doing. Let me like or comment on that.
Yeah. Right. Well, yeah. And
let me hit this before we go off topic. So being in law enforcement, you see death, you see bad things. Where I worked, we've seen kind of, in the jail, you see really bad stuff. And then when I worked in the court system, you hear some really bad stuff and you see images and videos and things of bad stuff, like the source material of like what would be on social media, but you get very numb to it. And I don't know if there's like a draw to like watch it once you've seen it or something like that. Yeah. I think there probably is. But I remember one of the guys I work with, who I had a lot of respect for because he worked in law enforcement a long time. He worked in Portsmouth. He was a captain in Portsmouth, and 20 years ago. So Portsmouth City Jail 20 years ago was probably quite the place. Honestly, I mean, it still is, but So I got a lot of respect that he filled out his career. But he had an app on his phone called Scoops. Do you know what that is?
No, not a clue.
It's TikTok with absolutely no filter. Like it has no.
Oh dang!
There's no filter on it. Like you can see shootings. There's nudity. It doesn't matter. Like there'll be videos on there on Scoops of a straight like a shooting, like somebody getting shot right in the head, and it's all on there. It's not blurred. It's not taken down. There's no community guidelines of like, okay, this 100 people see it and then it gets taken down and nobody sees it. It's just up there, and he would watch it, like just watch it.
I mean, it's. Yeah.
That can't be good for your psyche.
I think it's in the same, it's not, but it's in kind of the same category of porn.
Yeah.
And even not, I say the word porn and I don't just mean like hardcore porn.
Yeah.
I mean, the picture of the woman that you scroll through and you stop for a sec
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
and you catch yourself staring. Is that technically porn? No, but the intent is to draw your attention in a sexual way.
Yeah.
I think I don't know if it does the same thing in your brain, but it's got to be similar.
Mhm.
It's that desire to
That dopamine hit that you get.
maybe, I don't know, I'm not smart enough for that, but all of those things affect the way real life
Mhm.
comes across. You know, if you're heavy into porn or even lightly into porn, if porn is one of your things, a real woman will not have the same effect.
Yeah.
For one, because a lot of those women are, it's
Fake.
not as seen on TV or
Yeah.
on TikTok or whatever, wherever you get your smut nowadays. But we watch all this death on Instagram, TikTok, or whatever.
Mhm.
And then when we encounter it in real life, I don't know that softens the real life, or if it makes the real life experience even worse, because you get to scroll past it
Mhm.
on Instagram, but when you encounter it in real life,
Yeah.
there's no scrolling past it.
Yeah.
Now you're stuck in it.
Well, I think one thing I've experienced, and I think anybody, military, law enforcement, you hear a lot of people too that are from like really bad areas kind of experience, but you get this numbness that like you're like really numb. And that I think that comes out in the jokes you say, things that might be insensitive that you don't view as insensitive, And I think while that on the surface may help you operate in a high stress environment, because that numbness, you don't have as much stress, anxiety, adrenaline, maybe. But now when it's in a calm moment, now your brain, it almost like, okay, you're calm in a stressful environment, but now you don't understand how to deal with calm, And it's like this burden that you almost feel like you don't feel anymore. And that's something I've experienced from work is like, it's almost like a good example is like when I was really struggling with my anxiety and like that emotional numbness, you just can't, like, I can't think of the last time you laugh, like little things like that I don't think people realize until they think about it. It's like, okay, that's not normal,
Mm-hmm.
Or watching movies and not being affected by it, like that emotional numbness that you should. An example, not to go on a tangent, but
tangent away, sir.
Yeah, this is probably going to sound bad, but I'm going to say it so we were at the dinner table the other day and my sister-in-law Ashley was off doing something, I don't know where she was, but she was at some church event, but on the app where she was like a newly built house. They had this beautiful farm facility and everything, but on the Google, like on the Earth satellite image on Life 360, there was nothing there. It was just because it hadn't been updated yet. And I made a passing joke of like, oh, maybe she got killed or kidnapped or something. And it really, which like, that's a bad joke. I shouldn't have said that.
Right.
And my mother-in-law like was really emotionally affected by it. Like, and she kind of not corrected me, like, don't say that, but was like, that's not okay to say. Like, stop, don't say that. Which like, that's a proper correction. Like we shouldn't be making jokes about that stuff, but that's what that type of numbness that we get to traumatic events causes. I mean, you hear nurses and police like, right?
Yeah. I mean, graveyard humor is a thing for a reason. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, there's a time and a place and, you got to use some sense in the company that you're in. But, and that's always been a thing. I mean,
yeah, it is.
Soldiers and cops and people, firefighters and people that are in those situations. I mean, shoot, in the shop, like graveyard humor is that's a thing. And it can be very helpful. Laughter is a powerful thing.
Oh yeah.
But there's a difference between, like when my father-in-law died, we made all kinds of jokes. He was, and if he had been there, he'd have laughed at every single one of them.
Yeah.
And that really did help everybody cope.
Yeah.
In that moment.
I think,
but there is definitely a difference between, this is how we handle this. This is a coping mechanism, and this is our entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between coping and entertainment.
Yeah, I think that's a good separation, and that kind of leads into what I was thinking too. Of, you remember when those people got crushed on the submarine thing?
Mhm.
Remember that?
Mhm.
Like that's a really tragic event. Like that.
Yeah.
That's not something that we should necessarily be joking about. And I think, like you said, when it turns from a coping mechanism to entertainment, you saw on social media all these I mean, the memes were crazy,
Mhm.
and like you don't really think, okay, people really died
Yeah,
on that
right.
submarine. People's children, people's brothers, fathers, like those people are gone forever in a really, honestly, a really tragic way, and probably a really, I would imagine, not good way to die. I wouldn't imagine that'd be a very enjoyable
Probably very,
experience.
very fast though.
Well, hopefully.
The pressure that's, from what I understand, I've got an engineer that I build cars for, who was like a maritime engineer.
Oh,
We
really?
talked about this a little bit when
Yeah.
it happened. He said the amount of time that, like, for a full size submarine to go from a full size submarine to like a crushed pop can is like 0.5 seconds or 0.0.
Which is quite
It's like
incredible.
instant
Which is crazy to think
because of the
about.
amount of pressure down
Yeah.
there. And just pretty nuts.
That is pretty nuts.
That may be completely inaccurate. I don't know. I'm
That's what they said. That's
relaying
what I
information that somebody else told me.
That's what I read.
Yeah.
And he's firsthand experience of actually building that stuff and knowing about that stuff. So
He's at least super smart.
yeah. But you see these memes, and now we've gone from a coping mechanism of how do we deal with trauma or events like that into now we're making entertainment out of
Yeah.
it. Now it's purely entertainment at this point.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's a distinction that we're just now kind of, like, you and I at this
Thought
particular
process
moment are just now figuring out. I think maybe that's an important way to think of it as, moving forward and looking at these things is, are you entertained
Mm-hmm.
by somebody else's tragedy, misfortune,
Yeah.
pain? If so, it's probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
I think that's translated into our movies. Like,
Mhm.
you look at horror movies from the 70s and 80s,
Yeah.
they were super unrealistic.
Yeah.
I'm not a big horror movie guy,
Yeah. Neither am I.
but if I'm going to watch a horror movie, I'm going to watch an old horror
Mhm.
movie, or Jason, or,
Yeah.
Pinhead, or
Yeah.
which I'm probably not going to watch because I'm not into them. But the new horror movies,
Mm-hmm.
I can't even watch the previews because it's
crazy.
so, they have made it so realistic and so
Mhm.
dark. And it went from like borderline sci-fi
Mm-hmm.
to now it's, oh no, this is kind of real, or this seems like it could be real. And the
Yeah.
amount of evil that they portray
Yeah.
for our entertainment, I don't see how that could possibly be healthy.
Yeah. And it's crazy. Like
I love a shoot 'em up action movie,
Yeah.
which is probably not any better.
You see,
really, but
I heard, I don't remember who it was, but I was listening to a podcast and they were talking about this distinction. Because like Deanna was a big,
this is the kind of friend that you want. I haven't even read the text yet, but it starts with, do you know the story of when Jacob wrestled with God? Let's see here. Let's open this up for you. This is a long text. Do you know the story of when Jacob wrestled with God? It happened in Genesis 32 on the night before Jacob was about to come face to face with his brother Esau, the same brother he betrayed years earlier. He was afraid for the reunion. He knew everything he had built in his life had the chance of collapsing if things didn't go well. So he sent his family ahead and stayed behind. That's when it happened. A man appeared, and Jacob wrestled with him all night. This wasn't just a physical fight. It was a moment where Jacob was forced to confront everything: his past, his fear, his identity, and the God he'd been running from and relying on at the same time. He refused to let go of God during the wrestle. Even when he was wounded, his hip was put out of socket. Even when it cost him. At daybreak, he said something incredible. I will not let you go unless you bless me. That's when everything shifted. God then didn't just bless Jacob, he renamed him. From Jacob, the deceiver or ankle grabber, to Israel, one who wrestles with God. The fight wasn't about winning, it was about transformation. Some of the most important moments in our lives won't feel like peace. They'll feel like tension, pressure, and even struggle. Not because God is against you, but because he's pulling you out of something that comfort alone never could. Jacob walked away limping, but as a changed man. Sometimes that's exactly what an encounter with God looks like.
That's good.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about at all, but that's a text that, literally
good
just
break.
came through from
Yeah.
Derek.
Yeah. And like you said, like those are the people we want to surround ourselves with. Is that send
Yes.
text messages like that.
He and I tried to kill each other last night, just for the record.
Which is good.
Mm-hmm. He's a few years older than me. Not much. Like big, tall, jacked,
He is
handsome. He was
is
a
in
college
really good
football
shape.
player.
Yeah, he's in really
He's got
good
a
shape.
great head of hair.
Yeah.
I love beating him
Yeah.
up because there's absolutely no reason at
Mhm.
all on the face of the earth why I should be able to beat that guy up.
Other than jiu-jitsu.
But it's
Mm.
it's glorious
Martial
every
arts.
time, and he loves it. He loves it just as much as I do.
I don't think I've rolled with him yet.
No,
Maybe I have.
he's not good at jiu-jitsu at all, and because he doesn't even he has. I think he got his first stripe.
Yeah,
He's got one stripe on his white belt, so he doesn't know anything. But he's super strong.
Yeah.
He's extremely athletic, and he's very flexible.
Yeah. So you've got to have good jiu-jitsu with a guy
Yes.
like that, or else he's gonna make a fool out of you.
He and he hurts me afterwards because he's been showing me how and encouraging me to stretch
Yeah.
because I don't.
Yeah.
And I'm the more I lift weights and the more I do all the, I'm just like
The less
tighter
you
and tighter
stretch.
and tighter
Yeah.
and tighter. So yeah, he tortures me for a little bit after jiu-jitsu.
Which is good.
Yeah, which is good.
Which is good. He does a big stretching routine. I remember that because he was doing it last time I was there.
Yeah, I did it with him last night. It was terrible. It sucked.
The amount of pain that stretching can be if you don't really do it or don't understand how
Oh, dude.
much of an experience it is. Yeah, it's a lot. It's not easy
No.
by any means.
So I'm sorry, I threw us away.
No, that's
I don't
okay.
even remember where we were.
Well, we'll just jump right back into social media because I'm sure we were on a tangent.
Probably.
But I think I say that a lot. I think, but I noticed that when we were watching the podcast back, someone on there like, yeah, I can't stand that. But what are some productive ways? So we've talked about how harmful social media can be, right? How can we use it in a productive way?
So, okay. I think, in this, I'm giving myself advice. I deleted Instagram off my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I still have Instagram. It's on my computer. So I only have limited access to it because I only have the computer in front of me for a very short period of time in the morning and a very short period of time at the end of the day. Sometimes not at all at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the time that I have to spend on social media is, if I spend 5 minutes on Instagram in the morning, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I will say, I had no idea that it was causing me any kind of stress or anxiety or anything at all. Cause I would have said, I don't care.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, just not having it on my phone, not ever having the urge to check it, which went away after about a day.
Yeah.
For that first day, I was like, oh, I'd like to check Instagram. It's not on my phone. After that went away, it's like, my brain is smoother now. I do not have these things running through my mind. I don't have I don't have a lot of half naked women that pop up on my Instagram feed because I, try to stay away from that stuff. But from time to time, that stuff pops up. You follow car pages, eventually you're going to get your own bikini in the car. So I don't have to worry about coming across things like that and then catch myself staring, and maybe that leads you down another path of searching for that kind of stuff and all that. So it's like, you don't even have to, if it's not there, you don't have to worry about it. And I have found the amount of time that it has opened up in my life is awesome. Like, I picked up playing guitar, which is hilarious because I, can't barely tune a radio, but my wife had made a couple comments in the past about she would like it if I could play guitar and play for her. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to learn to play guitar so that I can play her a song. Yeah. And I am awful. Like, dude, abysmal.
Better than no guitar playing though.
Well, debatable. But I played the little bit that I have kind of figured out for her, and the woman cried. So like,
it's
I'm
the
doing
thought.
okay. It is truly the thought. She was not impressed by my musical abilities in any way whatsoever. She's a sweetheart. She's like, oh, it sounds really good. And it doesn't. It doesn't. I know it doesn't. And that's okay. But the amount of new time that I have found in this world where everybody always says, myself included, don't have time for that, is really nice. And I certainly have not felt any loss in not having social media in my face all the time.
there's like a clarity that I feel like when because I think we were kind of on a similar timeline as far as that goes, is I've been trying to step away from social media as best I could, right? And there's like a clarity that comes with it. And when we think about things that we're doing, I mean, we're all busy. We all have, hobbies, jobs, like things that take up the majority of our time. The time not doing our jobs or hobbies should be filled with things that slow us down, right?
Mhm.
Or relax us. And what we're filling it now is social media, which like does almost exactly the opposite of that.
Yeah, I do not need help getting wound up.
No.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Like I wake up in the morning and it's like, as soon as I get out of the bed, it's like, okay, hurry up and go.
Yeah.
Because that's just my life
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
reality.
I'm up as early as I can get up. I get here and I do my little bit of Bible studying. And then I'm in the shop working so that I can get a full day of work in
Yeah.
before I dip out at 3:30 so that I can get kids ready and head to the gym and help with kids class and then train and think it's just we're running
Yeah.
nonstop all the time. So the last thing I need is something else to cause me to waste time for one,
Yeah.
or to cause any level of added stress. Like, it's just not,
Yeah.
it's not helpful.
And that's one thing, like with the podcast, is that we've talked about is like, how can we, there's a lot of bad, obviously, on social media, but it can be used for productive
There
things.
is a lot of good on social media too. Like there are lots of pages. There are lots of really great pages out there. There's inspirational stuff and there's motivational stuff and there's fitness stuff. There's lots of awesome stuff on there. So it's not all bad, but it does all take time.
Yes.
It does all
That's
require
true.
time.
Yeah.
Good, bad, indifferent. All the stuff on social media is sucking time.
Consuming.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's how you're usually like I'm reading a book, Productivity by Doug Wilson. He talks about like how we use tools and how we view tools. Obviously a cell phone would be a tool, hammer be a tool, different tools, different complexity. But in some of the early chapters, he's like kind of doing a more overview of how we should view tools as wealth, right? And because the Bible talks about how we should use wealth. Doesn't really talk about tools per se, but the tools are a form of wealth, right? Like we're able to be way more productive with tools, the communication that we're able to have here. But talking about social media specifically is like, what is the public square, right? Back in the day, it was markets, neighborhoods, community centered things. And now the public square very well might be social media. That's where people are,
without a doubt.
And so I do think there's a duty, some level of duty to engage with that. We can't completely disengage with it. And that's the balancing act that I think is hard. And hopefully, like with this podcast, we're engaging with it, influencing towards good.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, like I just said, there is certainly good stuff there. There's good stuff in podcasting, and I don't know if this falls into the good stuff category. Whatever.
Meaningless entertainment.
Yeah. There's good stuff on YouTube and there's good stuff on Instagram. Maybe there's good stuff on TikTok. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have TikTok. And that's fine. There's lots of good stuff in the world, but just because it in of itself has good things in it doesn't mean that it's necessarily worth the investment of time that it requires.
Yeah.
So, and not saying that, everybody should delete Instagram and all social media off their phones. I'm not saying that. And different people at different stages of their lives have different amounts of time to spend and or waste on that kind of thing. It's just everybody needs to take stock of that in themselves and go, okay, what am I saying I don't have time to do that I should be doing and or think I want to do?
Yeah.
And is this thing sucking so much of my time that I'm failing to do other things that I should be doing? Like those are simple questions to ask yourself. And if the answer is, well, the screen time on my phone says I'm spending 5 hours a day on my phone and I'm not getting all these things done. My relationship with my wife is trash and I don't remember my kids' names.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a pretty simple thing to cut out.
And that's a good example because even
not easy, but
even if you're looking at the good stuff, that good stuff is not helping.
I'd say 90% of the things in my algorithm are good things.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Like I follow the motivational pages and the fitness pages and the car builders that I'm friends with, you know, guys that I know, and I'm keeping track of what they do so that I can, you know, send them messages and say, hey, that was cool, or whatever. Most of it's good stuff,
Yeah.
good or indifferent, at least with minimal bad things. But when I get home, and what I would tend to do, like where I failed at this the most, was we'd get home from the gym and it's already late. It's 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. And that's when I would check my phone.
Yeah.
And I'll be standing in the kitchen. Jerry Lynn and I are trying to get dinner together so we can get the kids to
And you
bed
start
late.
scrolling.
And I'll pick up my phone. I'll lean against the counter and I'll do this and this. And then 20 minutes later, Jerry Lynn's going, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, huh? I was just checking Instagram. Well, it's been 20 minutes.
Yeah. You don't even realize it.
What?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if what's on there is great.
It's
At
distracting.
that moment, it's not nearly as good
Mhm.
as what I would have been experiencing and what everybody else would have been experiencing having me there.
Yeah. And what's kind of weird too is like one of the guys I was listening to his podcast, I think his name's Nathan Spearing. He was an ex team guy and he had a podcast. I can't remember what it was called, but they were like 10-minute clips. And he kind of stopped doing it. And as I'm looking through his old clips, I there's like a time gap, and he talked about it on one of the podcasts, and he talked that perfect example of like, yeah, do we have a duty to go out there and engage in the public square and do good works and share the gospel and help people and things like that? We do, but there's a balancing act of like, what is our mission as far as what is our core responsibilities, right? As husbands, as fathers, you know, that's the core. And he gave a good kind of synopsis of the podcast is a good thing he's doing, and he's making a difference in people outside, but it was distracting him from his being a husband, being a father, and his core business of he's in real estate. It was starting to take time away from that. And at that point, is it really a good, right? There's a balancing act there of what's your core mission as far as like we talked about before this, like what's the central focus of our lives, right? And I think it's easy to get distracted of having like a social media page, of having like, you know, these cool social media pages that, yeah, they're good, but are they taking away from like the core of our being?
Well, and even like this podcast that we're doing, which I mean, which is fun for us, and I enjoy doing it. And, you know, hopefully maybe somebody out there will listen to it and it'll help them, or at least give them humor, whatever.
Yeah.
But if we're doing this and we're neglecting what we're supposed to be doing, we're supposed to be going out into the world, making disciples of all the world, right? That's what we're called to do. And we're going to claim that, oh, that's what we're trying to do right now.
Yeah.
But in reality, we're not interacting with you that's watching, listening. You know, we're trying to influence you, hopefully in a positive way.
Yeah.
But where we're really meant to be doing that is in in person, you know, at work, at home, in the gym, where we encounter people in the grocery store, not the, you know, like I'm going to carry around a Bible in my back pocket and go, oh, can I bless you today?
Yeah.
No, but just the way we carry ourselves in day-to-day life is our biggest influence.
Where it really matters.
You know, we're not Jocko. You know, we don't have 500 gazillion followers that are going to hang on everything we say. Probably quite the opposite, you know, but where we do have influence is, you know, on the jiu-jitsu mats or here at the shop or at home with our wife and our kids, or the places that we spend time. Like, that's where our biggest impact should be.
Yeah.
And if we can impact in other areas too, wonderful, great. Like I really do. I hope that this podcast is helpful for people. And if not, then I hope nobody listens to it and it can just continue to be fun for us and whatever. But like, my goal is not to create, you know, Iron and Grace fans.
Yeah.
If it happens, well, I'm sorry, there's not better things for you to find on the internet.
Yeah.
But my goal is to have, you know, I've got 5 kids. I want 5 kids to grow up and be strong believers that build strong families, that live fulfilling lives.
Yeah.
And I want all of the friends in my circle to get closer to each other and stronger in their faith and better at jiu-jitsu or better at building cars or, you know, whatever. Like I want the people that I can influence to do better, to grow, you know, rising tides lift all boats, that kind of thing. And if my face is stuck in social media from concentrating on that kind of thing all the time, then I'm in some way I have to be neglecting those other things. Like that attention has to go somewhere.
Yeah. Because you can't split your attention. It's
Yeah.
focused on. And what's weird is like social media was made to connect us in a way, and it has almost divided us as far as actual human interaction.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and I don't even know, like, because for those of you who don't know, Kyle's a lot more busy than I am. So I do a lot of the social media stuff, but I
Yeah.
changed our little
Yeah.
tagline on there.
Mr. Unemployed.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to have a garden of donkeys though.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. But, not that you couldn't have that because you're busy, but in reality,
could not.
Kyle's got a lot more.
We
on his
had
plate,
chickens and it was too much, and chickens are not a lot. So
you know, but where was I going with that? I changed our tagline on the thing, and hopefully people see that, and maybe our message, basically what you just so eloquently put, gets across quicker to people.
he called me out.
Yeah, but I put on there forging good men one conversation at a time,
Yeah.
and I think that's really what we're
That's
trying.
the goal.
Yeah,
anyways,
like
right?
hopefully the conversations we're having influence people towards the good, towards the truth, right? Because I feel like our generations had been kind of stripped of that a little bit. And I think it does take people having conversations like hopefully we're having to open people's eyes, and not just open people's eyes that may be blinded to truth or what we would consider good, right? Or God would consider good, but also other people that think like us maybe have a little more courage, have a little more backbone now, because it's like, okay, they're saying this. I can actually live that way. I can actually have those conversations. Because I feel like in our normal interaction, a lot of times we're scared or we're nervous to even have conversations like we're having on the podcast, because we're worried to. We're worried how people might think that we have those conversations. You know, we might worried about the reaction or whatever. And those are the conversations that build us up. Like we talked about at Mateo's thing, like not his thing, Mateo's bachelor party, right? We were having really wholesome, good conversations.
Between the strippers and the tequila.
Yeah. That were going to benefit not only his marriage, but all of us, right? As like, that was our goal with the bachelor's party. And that was something Mateo and Michelle made strictly clear, was like, we want those events to, obviously there's celebration, right? And there's joy in that because this is a beautiful thing that's happening, but they should be lifting up,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I think, I wish everybody could have, well, I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. The podcast I think is cool because it gives us the opportunity to just kind of like look dumb sometimes.
Yeah.
Like when you're posting on Instagram, you never post your worst picture on Instagram.
No.
You know, you take the picture. If I want to take a picture of this coffee cup, like you take a picture, then you take another picture,
Yeah.
and you kind of pick which one's the best one. You post that, and you put your best foot forward on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's at least I do, and I'm sure most people do the same. So you don't really, it's like reality TV.
Yeah.
It's anything but real.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
this, like, we both say stupid
Yeah.
things and we trip over our words, and I can't find words, and I sound like an idiot most of the time, or at least sometimes. And I think that's great because, like, it's kind of hard to fake it.
yeah.
You can fake it for 15 minutes. It's hard to fake it for an hour.
Yeah.
But like you said, doing this in real life is
Is where it matters.
where it really
Yeah.
matters.
It's funny because some people listen. I think people around us that we actually know probably listen more than the random people that hopefully
Maybe. Although we should
interact
acknowledge we got 200 subscribers on YouTube,
we did,
which is cool.
which
Thanks,
is
guys.
cool. I seen that number and I was like, okay, that number's there. How can this translate into like more people seeing it and more people engaging with it, and hopefully what we just talked about happening actually in like the real life world. But I seen Raven at Walmart. I don't think I told you this. First off, I see him and he's lost so much weight and he's in such good shape that like it doesn't even make sense to me that was him as he approached, and he's seeing me from far off, right? And he's getting closer. And I'm like,
We will get him on here at some point
Yes.
to talk about that because
I think he's more open to coming on now.
good.
So, but he's seen me and I didn't even recognize him. And as we go, oh, that's Raven, but he was telling me like, I'm a big fan of the show. Like I enjoy listening to it. And like,
I call him Skinny Raven now.
he is skinny
Every time.
Raven. I mean, he's
Which
still pretty
not.
big.
He's not skinny. He's
Stupid strong.
200 pounds of reps 415 on
Yeah.
bench. Like, he's a
Yeah.
monster.
Yeah, he is.
But he's super fit now.
But the interaction with him, like, I personally feel that, like, you see somebody in Walmart, right? And you have passing conversation. But we were able to have a better conversation because of the things we say on here. Like this breaks down that barriers to have what I feel like real conversations with people. Like, how's your wife? How are you? You know, because we're able to, I don't know how to put it. It's, you know, and I think I've seen that with our personal relationships because there's a barrier there, like in real life that doesn't like to be broken, that I feel like kind of shelters us from actually loving and helping other people and nourishing real community and real relationships that matter.
You know, I haven't really listened to any podcasts very much lately because I've been listening to the radio more because it's just easier to work with music on instead of podcasts. Anyways, but I'm a Jocko fan. I've listened to a lot of his podcasts, and he's talked several times about when he meets people that, you know, are big fans. They're like, I feel like I know you. And he's like, you kind of do. Like, you do. You've been listening to me for the last 10 years. Like, you kind of do know me. And I think that's kind of the cool thing about doing this is, like, it doesn't matter if people know me. No, I'm a nobody. But just hearing a nobody speak honestly about these, whatever it is we're talking about, whether we're talking about, well, last time we recorded, we talked about Easter, or we talked about, you know, my phobia of being caught in public with pajama pants on, or, you know, whatever goofy thing or sensible thing or senseless thing we're talking about. Hopefully it gives other people the, like, oh, well, maybe I'm at least less of an idiot than that guy. I can be heard, you know? Yeah.
And I think it as long as, and I think that's something that you have to protect. And that's, I think, what people tend to not do on social media is giving an honest depiction of yourself. Do I think everything has to be put on social media? No, obviously we have more honest conversation because this is a platform that we're trying to like get things out. But it's weird with social media because it's like, what's the point? Obviously Facebook, MySpace, all those like older social medias were purely to connect people, right? To have a network, to share photos, to connect with people that you might not be day-to-day interactions with. But it's almost like now it's like a billboard. Like, why are we putting that stuff on social media in the first place, right? Like, and you have a business. There's an obvious purpose behind what you're posting on social media. You know, okay, you could get into the like, am I bragging about what I'm doing? Okay, there's like that gray area there. But anything we're posting on a business page, like that's the purpose of it, is to get your marketing, your skill sets out.
Yeah.
But when you look at a personal page, we've taken these like business pages or like our page like here. Where
and to be fair, honest, and what do they say? Honest and transparent. My business page is also I put jujitsu stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
It is also my personal page. So like, it's not, you know, it just, whatever.
That's true. But we've taken having a business page or like having a main goal of social media and like kind of taken that and made our personal pages less of a connectivity thing to a marketing thing.
Well, and I think also it's a little bit of that, like people seek a little bit of fame.
Yeah.
And so when I first got on Instagram I was helping teach some metal shaping classes with this company, Bailey, who I, you know, became pretty good friends with. One of the main engineers from a company that they sold a bunch of their, it's a long story there, but you know, me and some of the other metal shapers that were teaching his classes, the one guy, Mike, had a decent Instagram following. He's like, dude, you need an Instagram page so you can share your stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, great. So I started an Instagram page, and with the help of that company, Bailey, you know, my Instagram grew pretty fast. And I, you know, was like, oh, I've got 1,000 followers.
Yeah.
I've got 5,000.
Yeah.
I got 10,000 followers. And it was like, it's almost like I joke, it's the fame of nothingness. Because it is, you know, you're Insta famous, which is literally the least important thing ever. Yeah. But when those numbers get into the thousands and tens of thousands, and I think at one point we were up to 20 something ish thousand when I kind of quit posting stuff.
Yeah.
Or realized that it was like it's a dopamine hit just to see that number grow. Yeah. Like, oh man, there's 20,000 people. Within 19,000 of them might be bots. I don't know. But I actually had a younger guy. He was probably maybe in his early 20s when I started training. Like he asked what I did or something, and there was some freedom in doing jujitsu because nobody cared.
Yeah.
Like nobody knew or cared what I did. It didn't matter. But one of the younger guys asked what I did, and he asked if I had an Instagram page. I'm like, yeah. And he found my Instagram page, and he came. He's like, dude, you've got like 20,000 followers. And I'm like,
got weird.
like I don't know what to do with that. And I kind of realized a little bit then, and then more so maybe a year or so ago, I was listening to a podcast with a guy who he's like a friend of a friend. I won't say his name because I don't have nice things to say, but he had a big social media following, like a couple 100,000 people, maybe more. And when COVID happened, he was very outspoken about a lot of the things that we feel. The vaccines shouldn't have been mandated, and just all the things. And his Instagram got deleted. Like they flagged his Instagram, deleted his shadow banned and whatever. And he had a genuine mental breakdown over losing his Instagram account. And he was talking about this openly on a podcast. Without like, I don't know that he ever made the realization like that's actually not okay.
Yeah.
He was truly devastated that he lost his Instagram account. And I heard that was like, whoa, that's not okay.
Yeah.
That's not healthy.
Yeah.
Like that's not healthy. I understand there were business ramifications for him, but that wasn't what he was talking about.
Yeah.
It wasn't the hit that his business took was like small potatoes compared to he was no longer this affluent and like, man, that's not healthy. That's not good. Like, this is where he was getting his self-worth was by the number of people that followed his shirtless pictures on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I have to like be cautious I'm a prideful person. I've said that several times. Like pride is one of those things that is really easy for me to grip hold of.
Yeah.
Or to grip hold of me. Like I need to protect myself from that a little bit. So like I really throttled back on posting things on Instagram because it's so easy for me to like, oh man, how many people saw that? How many people liked it? How many people commented on it? And I heard that. I was like, whoa, that's a powerful thing.
I think it's way more powerful than we realize. I think everybody, even not somebody that's like built that following, I think everybody that even has social media like feels probably what he's feeling, just not on the same scale. Like I remember like in high school and like as like my early 20s, like you'd be proud of something and you'd post a picture of just like family stuff or whatever. And like, you know what you normally like engagement you get. And like, you'd feel a certain feeling about it, getting more likes or getting less likes.
And I don't know, maybe a little bit of that's okay and healthy, but I don't know like at what point it becomes, okay, well now I'm seeking that. Yes. Like Daddy never told me he loved me enough. Yeah. Maybe Instagram will, or maybe not.
And I think it's funny too, like with your page, like when you look through it, it's like, it's clear that like you post a car picture, like you've talked about this. You post a car picture, it gets 1,000 likes. You post a jiu-jitsu picture, it gets 10. You know, it's like, it's clear that there's like,
we don't care about your jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. People are like, oh, Kyle posted another jiu-jitsu picture.
Yeah, right.
You know,
keep on scrolling.
But, and I think that's almost like a healthy social media. Like they're there for a reason, right? And you're posting pictures for your business, for your skill set you've acquired, you know, that's, I feel like that's healthy, right? But I mean, I don't know.
I wrestle with it a little bit because, like, you know, sometimes I'll build a thing and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty proud of that. It turned out really good.
Yeah.
I'd like to post that. And for one, it's like the time. It just takes time to do it and write something that makes some kind of sense that people will kind of understand and then do hashtags on there and all that crap. So 99 times out of 100, I just don't. But like, you know, since I've been into lifting, like I had a new PR and I usually record myself doing my big lifts so that I can go back and watch, did I look stronger doing this than I did last week? And so that I have a record, same like I take a picture of my note board and I'll hit, like when I hit 285 a few weeks ago, like I was really stoked about that. That was a big deal for me. And like I'd like to post that. And I thought about it, I'm like, for one, nobody wants to see my shirtless, hairy self lifting weights on Instagram. Nobody cares. And it's like, do I want to post it because like my few friends that care would be excited about it? Or do I want to post it so that I look strong on Instagram?
Yeah.
And like, for one, 80% of the people that I'm around are stronger than me anyways. So I'm still not the strongest one in the group, no matter what. Like, is it just for my pride and ego? And then when somebody goes, oh, you lifted your butt too much when you pressed that.
Yeah, exactly.
Or your arms were shaky or whatever, then am I going to be knocked down a peg?
Yeah.
Like, so it's just I don't know.
What's kind of crazy, and we've probably rambled enough about it, but it's kind of crazy because when you think about human history. Social media has been around like 20 years, roughly, at the scale it's at now. We operated as people like for all of human history without social media, but yet it's so ingrained in us. Like it's almost like, how could you
hold fast?
Yeah. How could you go to an event and not take a picture and post it? Yeah. But it's like unfathomable now that it's like you wouldn't do that. But that it's so abnormal for humans to be doing what we're doing on social media. I get it. We should be using social media and phones and things to connect ourselves. Like we should use it for the tool that it is. I'm not saying we're going to go like pure Amish, because I think there's good that needs to be had with a phone and social media. And I think how we use that needs to be obviously bridled, but this is the abnormal. We're existing in a time frame that is the 1% of all of human history. And we've got to like be conscious of that, because I don't think most people realize that.
Yeah. And I think, again, like I said we should talk about social media, and I didn't necessarily want to just bash on social media the whole time, because I do think there are good things there. I just think that, again, as men, the podcast is we focus a lot on men because that's what we are. And as, many women as I have in my house, they still are a mystery in some ways. But, as men, we have jobs that we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be providers. We're supposed to be protectors. We're supposed to be leaders in every environment that we're in. That doesn't necessarily mean that I need to be the leader of every single group, but we are called to be able to lead in a certain capacity. Every one of us, one of us. And if our face is buried in our phone for hours and hours a day, is it holding you back? Is it holding you back in some way from doing the things that you're called to do? Are you less of a provider, protector, leader, lover to your wife, father to your kids? Are you less of any of those things because of that? And if so, I'm not saying delete it off your phone, but maybe at least reduce it to the point where the main things stay the main things.
Yeah. I think that's a good way to put it, is like it.
And if you're married, I promise that your wife will not be disappointed that you spend more time paying attention to her and less time paying attention to your phone.
Yeah. I think that's a given. And I think to people like don't realize not everybody's a social media influencer. Yeah, that social media influencer posts a ton of stuff every day, but like that, most of those type of people, like that's their job, that's their career.
Man.
Our personal pages are different, and we've got to recognize that, and recognize that we're not humans for having social media. Like we're humans, and we have interactions, and we have community, and we have real relationships. This is this tool of communication that's, in my opinion, being misused and taken advantage. And in all honesty, it's someone else taking advantage of us and our time, manipulating our algorithms, manipulating the things we see, the colors we use, for their own benefit. And you've got to understand that and recognize that and treat it appropriately, I guess.
I'm sure this is a page that you never followed. Did you ever hear of the Instagram page several years back? It was called Badass Official.
Mm-mm.
Okay. It was like explosions and girls in bikinis and motorcycles and all things, air quotes, badass. And it was it was a friend of mine that owned that page, and he was on his phone. He lived on his phone. He was a sales guy for a big company. So he was, while he was at work, and he was a great sales guy. While he was at work, a minimum of every 30 minutes, he was posting something on the page. A minimum of every 24 hours a day,
Mhm.
he was posting something.
Yeah.
It was literally all consuming. I never saw him with his face out of his phone for more than a couple seconds. And I knew him for, quite a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I still know him, but I don't know if that page still exists. I followed it for like a day and was like, this is not my thing. But the amount of time
Yeah.
that he had $1 million, he made a lot of money,
Yeah.
a shocking amount of money off of that page. And he was just posting other people's stuff.
Yeah.
Like they would send him things
And then he
to
would
post
post
on
it.
his page.
Yeah.
Or they'd send him things and he would add girls to it or
Mhm.
fire or whatever. And I don't know exactly how it worked. And they would pay him to post stuff on his
Mhm.
page. And he made a ridiculous amount of money doing it.
Yeah.
But it was his life.
Yeah.
And it looked like a miserable one to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And it almost like it has the ability to be extraordinarily distracting. And I think our generation, it's got the potential of 30 years from now, people looking up and being like, what the heck did I just do with all that time? You know?
Yeah. I don't know. It does seem like, I think younger, the teenagers nowadays, some of them are all consumed for sure. But I think a lot more of them than I would have expected are.
Yeah. People are waking up to it.
Yeah.
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 I think once people woke up to the idea of like, okay, this is cool. And like, okay, maybe it's my pride of getting a lot of likes and stuff. And like realizing, okay, that's not good, to the realization of like these large companies, these malicious people, other governments, just bad people are using this influence to like manipulate me. I think that shift has happened. And I think that's when we're seeing people step away from it, because that's not just like your own pride or your own, whatever. That's like, these people might actually be trying to hurt us.
Well, that, and even like my kids, we have a cell phone for the kids that they share. It doesn't have social media or anything. It's basically so that they can text us if they're babysitting, and so they can text some of their friends, and that's it. There's no internet on it, nothing like that. And I have had my children say, Dad, get off of Instagram.
Yeah.
And like, if that's not eye-opening.
Yeah.
So like my kids, they don't want anything to do with social media because they've seen me get sucked into it. And they're like, Dad, where are you at? Dad, where are you at? Dad, where are you at? Like I'm standing right in front of you and I'm buried in my phone for 20 minutes. So it's completely unfair to them.
Yeah.
Like Rosabella, if you put Instagram on a phone and handed it to her, she'd be like, nah, I'm good. And put it face back down. She wants nothing to do with it. And I think just like a lot of our generation, I was lucky. I did not have parents that drank, but I have lots of friends that grew up with alcoholic parents. And like, I don't drink because I grew up and I saw what that did.
Yeah.
So I think we have a lot of young kids that now their parents are
consumed by it
all day, every day. And they're like, I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want to be like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we beat it up pretty good.
Maybe. Probably. All right. I don't know if Jerry Lynn went grocery shopping without me or not, but if not, I'm going to catch up with her and go grocery shopping. So we'll call it.
Absolutely.
Investigate your own time.
Yeah.
And look at your screen time on your phone. And maybe if you've got multiple hours of screen time on your phone every day, look at the environment around you and see if it's negatively affecting things that you should be doing. Is your wife satisfied? Are your children taken care of? Is your lawn work up to date? Which mine's not, but not because of social media. But look at your priorities and see, are things being fulfilled? And if they're not, perhaps it's time to reduce the one thing that literally has no effect on the rest of your life at all, and that's your social media.
Yeah. Did you say lawn work?
I did say lawn work.
I didn't want to interrupt it because you're making good points. But lawns are like the biggest lie. I had no idea. We can talk about that on another topic. So you're on track with what I'm thinking for lawns.
Well,
But-
I'm more than happy to dive into that at some point. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm not.
You live
Not
in
a
kind of a
lawn care guy.
neighborhood though, so they might make you mow it.
I have another guy mows my grass.
Well, there you go. That solves it somewhat. But yeah, like for social media, look up. Don't spend your life through a camera lens.
Yeah, there are
All-
beautiful things around you
And
that are real.
the beautiful things that you're looking at on the screen are in front of you.
Real. Well, the beautiful
They're-
things on the screen are not real.
Yeah, they're not real.
The
In your
ones in
world
front of you are real.
are real. Yeah, and look at those things. Open your eyes. Live your life with your eyes open. Don't let these things consume you. I've been consumed by it times in my life, and it's
That's what-
always there in draws.
Yep.
You know, wake up from that.
Yep.
All right,
Yep. Fight the algorithm. Guys, this has been Iron and Grace.
over and out.
Out.